let's get to this Impact review. So this Impact was weird. It was a weird episode. It wasn't a great episode, but it wasn't bad either. It was just imbalanced, I would say. This episode had so many promos on it and so many backstage segments and so very little wrestling. They only had 3 matches on this show, which is wild for this. It actually went over 2 hours, and we're going to get to that, as I thought the way that they got over 2 hours to get an overrun was kind of embarrassing. And I didn't think that they put their best foot forward for their debut on Sportsnet 360. But then again, like, look at the numbers. It's like, okay, never mind. Never mind. It's not that big of a deal. 36,000. Okay. Hopefully one day they get closer to that NXT number, but probably not anytime soon. But yeah, they had 3 matches on this show, which I think is wild for a 2-hour show. 3 matches and tons of promos. I thought the promos were pretty good, though. Strong promo night. And here's why they had a lot of promos. They need to build for Genesis. Genesis is only a few weeks away. Last count. I don't have the actual data in front of me, but Dobby did the latest count yesterday for Genesis, and the floor seats were like over 90% sold out on the floor seats. So Genesis looking pretty good, actually. San Antonio afterwards, not looking so good. Oh, sorry, I just had a weird message. Yeah, so Genesis afterwards, not looking so good. Oh, speaking of, Dobby's in the chat. What's up, dude? Let's see. Just a heads up. In early December, Dynamite was doing around 60 to 70K in Canada for viewership. So that's the most recent numbers I could find. And then he also says El Paso is selling great so far. Yeah. So El Paso is doing. San Antonio is just like a weird walk-up town, I guess. So I don't know. I think it's okay to be in panic mode there, but if you're not in panic mode, I get it. If you're not in panic mode, I get it. So because when in September of last year, the ticket sales were pretty weak a couple of weeks out, and then all of a sudden, like the week of, they just started filling them out. It was so funny is yesterday I tagged Steve Macklin in a tweet, and I said, if I were, and I said something that I've been saying on this show for a long time, if I were Impact or if I were TNA, I'd be sending Steve Macklin out to San Antonio, to Joint Base San Antonio. So Joint Base San Antonio it's a combination of Lackland Air Force Base, Randolph Air Force Base, and another Army base, which I can't remember off the top. I think it might be, I can't remember the name of the Army base off the top of my head. But so they pulled all those 3 bases together. Lackland specifically is where Air Force does all of their training. So like every one of us that goes to basic training has to go through Lackland. It is a major base. And there's a couple 100,000 military personnel just in that region, and there's way more retirees and prior service former veterans, like a veteran population. So in the greater San Antonio area, because it's a really popular place to retire from the military and to separate from the military because of the way that Texas takes care of their veterans. It's just the way it is. In fact, at one point I was looking at possibly retiring there. I was trying to get stationed there and make that my final base. Ended up not working out. I'm in Hawaii, so I can't complain, but like that was, at one point a goal. And so I was like, you should be sending Steve. And he quote tweeted, is like, yeah, I'd love to do that. I don't know why I got to come up with these ideas. So hopefully they make it happen. Foreman knows me. He's got my phone number. He can call. I'll give him all the information he needs. I'm not going to do the work for them, but if you ask the question, hey, who do I get in contact at Joint Base San Antonio? I could get him that information pretty quick. I got those kind of connections to where I could find out who their public affairs office is and all that stuff, and who's the head of the USO in San Antonio, and I could get them to get Steve onto the base and to do some not contract, but do some signings and do some pandering and do some selling tickets and advertising the military discount that they're providing for those shows. I could do that. They just got to ask, but I can make that happen for them. But yeah, so it was a fun episode, a weird episode, but I thought mostly enjoyable, because even though it was very promo heavy, the promos were still very good. So, if the promos are going to be really good, then I'm cool with that. So, but I would like it to be a little bit more balanced. I would like it to be a little bit more balanced with pro wrestling, and I'd like to be a bit more balanced between pro wrestling and promos and backstage segments. That would be my criticism. I thought it was just way too heavy the one way, but they needed to do that because they gotta hype up some matches for Genesis and hype up San Antonio coming up. So the show kicks off in memory of Jax Dane. So rest in peace, Jax Dane. I have not talked about that on this show. Weird story. Jax and I are Facebook friends, and I don't remember why. I think it was just like 5 years ago. Some wrestlers kept popping up on my feed because I was friends with a couple of guys who had done some booking and writing and on the indies, and they were friends with them. And like, so we had like 4 or 5 mutual friends, and I ended up adding Jax Dane. And he was always popping up on my feed, him and his family. He's got a beautiful family. And, I saw the Facebook post that his wife made on Christmas Day, man. God, that sucks. Heart attack. Terrible. He was a good guy, good family man, a really good dad to his stepson. And it's a real tragedy. He was in Impact Wrestling during the Jarrett era as the Veterans of War, and I kind of dug the gimmick, although he was really uncomfortable with it because he was not a veteran. And I get why he would be uncomfortable with it. Me personally, I was fine. So, because like, I don't care because they're just playing roles, but I would prefer that they would actually have military veterans in those roles as opposed to not. But if the guy takes a role for a company, I was like, I'm not going to begrudge him. Like, it's a gig. You got to take the gig, right? My preference would be if you're going to have military gimmicks, that military people be playing those gimmicks. But it's weird because it's pro wrestling and it's all acting. So I wouldn't say that about like actors in movies, right? Like I don't have that same energy when it comes to watching movies. But for some reason I have that energy for pro wrestling. And I think it's because they ultimately live their character and it's a little bit different. But again, I wasn't too upset about that whole thing. And then the only thing that I was upset about is that I just didn't think Crimson was very good. And it was Mayweather and Wilcox. I thought the gimmick was cool though. The VOW gimmick, shout out Voices of Wrestling. I thought the VOW gimmick was cool. And then they ended up having another cup of coffee as the War Kings at one point. But yeah, Jax Dane, former NWA World Heavyweight Champion, passed away on Christmas Day. So rest in peace, Jax, and prayers go out to the whole family. Joe Hendry kicks off 2025 for TNA. He, as advertised, the familiar sounds of Joe Hendry's viral hit theme song plays, the number one contender for the TNA World Championship, an opponent for the reigning title holder Nick Nemeth at TNA Genesis 2025. Joe Hendry makes his way to the ring to kick off tonight's show and 2025 in general. So out he comes. He leads a "We Believe" chant, and as he talks about his plans to leave TNA Genesis 2025 with the title, he is interrupted by the theme of Ryan Nemeth, the brother of the TNA World Champion Nick Nemeth. Ryan gets on the mic and says his big brother is not going to like this. Guys, Okay, I gotta stop right there. I think this Ryan Nemeth character is gonna work because he is a piece of shit. Like, and I mean that in the best possible way. He was so annoying on this show that I wanted to punch him. Talking about his big brother and how they're going to make his big brother the world heavyweight champion upset. I thought I I thought they were getting him over as a heel, and they did it. And he's doing a good job. He is not a good wrestler, but I've been saying for a long time, and I think it was Andre who's in the chat said, you know, tagged me in it because I've been saying it for a while. He needs to be a heel manager. He could be TNA's like Bobby Keenan or Jimmy Hart or Slick. You know what I mean? Like the Hollywood hunk. He can come out in ridiculous outfits and be like the manager of Jake something. Yeah, my brother, he was so annoying on this show in a good way. I was like, damn it. Oh, they got something with Ryan Nemeth. I think this kid's going to get, old kid, he's like 40. I think this guy is going to get over. I do. I really do. I like it. Like, I know I'm not supposed to like it. Like, that's the idea, but he, uh, he was, um, he was doing a good job on this show. So I'll just say that. He tells Hendry he's not a main eventer and he's a mid carder. You know, he used that hard R on mid carder. I'm like, that's probably not the first time he's used the hard R when talking to people. But a pretty good one too. He calls him a snake and a backstabber who plays macho head games to try to get ahead in TNA. He says he nor his brother Nick trust him. Hendry admires Ryan's ability to come out here and tell these little stories. He asks who wants to hear a little story of his own. Talks about going to the doctor for insomnia, and the doctor gave him a cure. It was Ryan Nemeth's comedy special. He says after 10 seconds, he was out like a light. Says if he's a mid-carder, Ryan is a janitor, so go mop the floor and get Joe Hendry a coffee. Swig of coffee for Joe Hendry's coffee. He says this main eventer has business to attend to, so it's enough stealing TV time for Ryan Nemeth. Hendry says that's enough glory for Ryan. And anyway, Joe Hendry somehow makes a match between Rhino and Nemeth. The match was happening, but he bumped it up and brought Rhino out for Rhino. What was supposed to be Rhino's last match in TNA, but it turns out that it's not. So they end up having a little match, one of 3 matches on the show. Ryan Nemeth brings a chair. Rhino gets the chair and actually blasts Nemeth before he can use it. He gets caught by the referee. Referee disqualifies him. That was the whole match. I cannot emphasize enough that I think that Ryan Nemeth is going to get over. If they continue to push him as a little shit and put him in as a manager, he can manage his brother and he can manage like other wrestlers. Like I think that he can manage like Jake something. You know, he would have been a good manager for something in Hammerstone, but Hammerstone's out with an injury. So I think if they just put him with Jake and maybe Jake gets another tag team partner, they could do something. I think they got something with this little idiot. I dug it. Backstage, Gia Miller standing by with Jordynne Grace. She asked the Juggernaut about being attacked by Tessa Blanchard at the final resolution. Grace talks about Tessa taking her ball and going home, and she says now that she's trying to return and lay claim to the leader of the locker room and reap the benefits off the backs of the hard work she and others put in while Tessa was gone. She says she knows that Tessa is the same old Tessa. I thought that was a good line. They're doing a good job of blurring the lines between reality, between fiction and nonfiction with this, a work and a shoot. And it's one of the few angles in this company that actually has a little bit of heat. And Jordynne has continued to increase the temperature on Twitter. She's really trying to get this feud over. I kind of hate saying this because I don't want to like spill the beans, but they're friends. So they're doing a really good job here. They are. They're working the sheets. They're working the internet. And they're doing a good job of getting this feud over. I'm looking forward to this match so much. She vows to wait by the door all night to give Tessa the nice warm welcome she truly deserves. And then the show returns, and the Rascals are just standing there talking to a camera. and saying they would like to be TNA World Champions. And then sure enough, the Hardys show up and challenge them to a match at Genesis for the TNA tag team titles. The way they make matches in this company is so annoying. Couldn't they have just won a number one contenders match? But instead they're just talking, and then like Hardys overhear it and then come and challenge them. So like, or could they have like in the ring made it like won a match and then grabbed the microphone and called out the Hardys and challenged them? Like, but instead they're just backstage talking to a camera and they get interrupted and then the match is made. It's just so lazy. And that's what I was talking about on my TNA resolutions for 2025. Make creative again. They gotta stop being so lazy to get into these matches. Now the match is gonna be fun, right? It's gonna get over. I don't think this match has ever happened before, so that's gonna be cool. But still, just a lazy way to get to that point. Now I thought they were more creative in getting to the next one, and I'll talk about that. But let's see. Let's go to the chat. Andre says hitting people with chairs. Ouch! Just to wait till my big brother hears about this. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, Jordynne and Tessa could be the main event. Literally, it's just lucky charm. Says also I want more knockout main events on PLEs this year, more focus on knockouts in general. Thought it was a good idea to make them the main event for this episode. Yeah, I thought they'd showcase the knockouts pretty well in this. And I think that we will get there. So Jordynne's title reign, this latest title reign, wasn't very good, and it wasn't Jordynne's fault. She just had no opponents. They were kind of, bringing in people from NXT to be her opponents, and just she was beating them in good matches. But like, did anybody ever think that Wendy Chu had a shot? No, right? Or Tatum Paxley? No. So they were just kind of bringing in random opponent. Like she beat Miyu Yamashita at one point, which was another pretty good match, but she didn't have a single feud for the title. They tried to have a feud with Steph DeLander, but then they mucked it all up with all the interferences and stuff like that. So they never really had a feud for Jordynne Grace's last title run. So, and then the Masha match was just two baby faces who respect each other and having a match. And it turned out to be a very good match, but still she didn't really have any heated feuds. So they waited until after she loses the title for her to actually have a heated feud. And she's, in her last month in the company. Ace Austin takes on Kushida. This is Kushida's last match in the company. So Kushida, so the bell sounds, we get off and away. So anyway, this ends up being a really good match. I thought this was the match of the night. I think they got something with Ace. I think now's the time to really get behind Ace. He gets the victory here. So he looks for the Back to the Future, but Austin avoids it and connects with a spin kick of his own. Austin follows up with the ace up his sleeve. It's called the Fold, brother. It's called the Fold for the pinfall victory in a really, really good match. I thought the crowd, it took them a while to get into it, but they really did get into it. I thought Kushida looked really good. You know what? Kushida was never going to be a top star here. He's not going to be a top star in New Japan. He's not going to be a top star anywhere. But he's a damn good wrestler, and I liked having him around. So, while I understand why they're not bringing him back, I'm sad to see him go, because every time they put him in the ring with somebody, he was almost always extremely good, and typically has one of the better matches of the night. And so he did a good job here with Ace Austin. They had a great match. Afterwards, Austin gets on the mic and says, every day Chris Bay fights for a better life, and he fights for him in the ring. He talks about Bay with tears in his eyes before surgery. Having a situation means Austin has to go on a crazy single. So Bay told him, you need to go have a crazy singles run. He talks about being a top guy of the company for a long time. He thinks it's time he becomes the top guy for the title. He says he wants the TNA World Championship, but instead he's cut off by Moose. Moose says the X Division Championship is the flagship title in TNA. Without it, TNA wouldn't be what it is. He calls himself the franchise of TNA. And what makes TNA the hottest wrestling company on the planet right now. Moose says when Ace Austin talks about going for the top title, Moose is holding the top title. He says Austin is scared of him, so go ahead and take the easy way out and go ahead and go after Nemeth. Austin cuts him off, tells him to shut the hell up. And then Moose says, just like your partner, Chris Bay. And I thought this moment was great. Austin smacks the mic out of his face and calls him a disrespectful piece of shit. He says, maybe you don't know how to count this high, but I've been X Division champion 3 times. He talks about carrying the X Division for years and says if he wants to learn something about the X Division, he's standing in the ring with the right guy. And he'll happily become a 4-time X Division champion. And then, so this is a very serious moment, right? Ace Austin's cutting the promo of his life. And out comes this dickhead, Santino Marella, doing his comedy shtick, mispronouncing words. And I hate when this motherfucker comes out and he gets a mild pop and then he looks like he's overwhelmed with joy from getting his mild pop. And he looks like he's about to cry. He does it every time. It's stupid. I'm kind of over the Santino guy. But anyway, he makes the match for Genesis. I thought this was a creative way to get to that, right? Not bumping into somebody in the hallway, but like he just won a match. He made a challenge to somebody else, but Moose, in an effort to get his title over, is out there making moves, right? So I thought this was a creative way. And I thought Ace Austin was on fire with his promo. That was the best Ace Austin promo I've ever seen. So I thought it was great. Io says, yeah, I agree. Ace is the future. Go watch his Revolver stuff. When compared to Moose, you really realize how good on the mic Ace was here. Yeah. A little cheesy, but they got some if they let him speak. And then Dre says, I've been done with Santino for 6 months. He's very unnecessary. I'm there, man. I'm there. Less is more with Santino. But he ruined a great moment because they were having a heated feud. We didn't need him to come out. They could have just announced it with a graphic, right? And like Tom Hannafin said, we just got word from Santino that this match is now official. We didn't need him to come out and make the match. Again, so here's another this is what I'm talking about with lazy booking and lazy storytelling and lazy matchmaking. So Macklin, Alexander, and Gresham, they say they're pissed off. I don't know why Gresham's pissed. he's pissed he lost their final resolution. He loses every week. But Alexander's pissed, or not so Steve Macklin, Eric Young, not Alexander. Macklin's pissed because he lost the number 1 contender match. But they all agree that they're pissed off. They ask what they're going to do about it. In walks the System and asks what they're going to do. And then they just start fighting. This is so stupid. And now they're going to have a match at Genesis because Macklin, who defeated Josh Alexander in the match of his life, is now being pushed back down the card into a tag team with Eric Young, where Eric Young is eventually going to turn on him and join the North once Josh Alexander leaves. Oh, by the way, I've been campaigning for TNA to re-sign Josh. I tagged Carlos Silva in that campaign yesterday, and that motherfucker hit the like button on that shit. So I don't know. If Josh gets signed, you guys can all credit me. So they announced that there's a 6-man tag for next week. And then the show returns, and they have a lengthy TNA Plus moment of the week. So they did a TNA, like this thing had to go like 6 minutes. It was a flashback match in 2016 with the DCC, the Hardy Boys, and the Decay. And it just lasted forever. And I was like, what are they doing? They haven't done this in a long time. And then I realized that in Atlanta on night 2, they taped 3 episodes in one night. They don't have enough content to fill the show. So they're doing flashback matches to fill up the show. What makes it even more egregious is that they had an overrun this week because of the extra content that they added. They wanted to get a little bit of an overrun for whatever reason. So they did a flashback segment that lasted fucking forever. It was so embarrassing. No other company does this. Why they do a 5 to 6 minute flashback segment is beyond me in 2025, but that needs to be the last time they do it. That was ridiculous. If you guys don't have enough content, add another taping to the schedule. You guys sold out 2 nights in a row. You could have added a 3rd taping, right? To get your 3 weeks of television. Well, in fact, you shouldn't have taken 2 weeks off at the end of the year. Add a 3rd taping and then fill those weeks up too. Dummies. We return live and Ryan Nemeth is being checked by the doctor after being hit with a chair. He says, wait until my big brother hears about this. Joe Hendry and Rhino against Nick Nemeth and Ryan Nemeth is made for next week. So there you go. And then we get back, and then Mike. So another promo. Mike Santana comes out. And he cuts a hell of a promo though. Gets on the mic. He says he's gonna do what he does best: speak from the heart. Talks about his tough life, hard times in the streets, beating addiction. Talks about coming to TNA and becoming one of the best after people said he made career suicide. Yeah, there's a lot of dum-dums out there that said that he should be holding a tag rope and that he shouldn't bet on himself. You guys are looking pretty fucking stupid right now. This guy's out here making great television, having great matches in TNA, and he's doing it all over the indies. But no, we should go hold the tag rope on Rampage, which just got canceled. Fuck you. He said it's time to get back to the path of purpose and become the standard of TNA. And he's saying that while he's holding a Josh Alexander's headgear, which brings out Josh Alexander and the Northern Armory. Alexander says they're cut from the same cloth. He tells Santana he's always liked him, calls him tough and talented, loses his cool at some fans and yells at them. He turns and keeps yelling at them. He tells Santana he might not be who he is today if not for the wars between LAX and the North. He asked how that ended. He said he was beat by the North and sent packing, whereas the North became the longest reigning tag champions in the company's history. He leans right in Santana's face, says he left for greener pastures, and asks what happened. He tells him that he failed. No championships for Santana. Meanwhile, Josh Alexander beat Christian Cage to be the TNA World Champion. Lost it before he could wrap the title around his waist, worked his way back up, and became the longest reigning champion in the company's history. Says as long as he's in TNA, Mike Santana will never be the guy. And then he's about to leave, and Santana stops and says, "Hey, where are you going?" He says Alexander might be right. He stayed here and beat killer after killer to become the face of TNA. He said, "Now, was it you, or was it because he was kissing ass and sucking up to the man with the pencil?" Which I thought was a great line. I obviously talk about D'Amore. Santana brings up Alexander's bald ass head. This is hate speech, by the way. Talking about someone's hair. It's fucked up. It's hate speech. And we really need to do something about it. They're doing it to Ricochet in AEW. Now they're doing it to Josh Alexander here. And then the fans chant bald ass head. So we got a bunch of hate speakers in the crowd. This is discrimination. And I'm not really going to stand for it, you jerks. But he says how about next week he goes through Alexander and his entire squad in one night. So he's going to do a gauntlet match. And then we go backstage. Man, a lot of backstage stuff going on. Go backstage, see Jordynne Grace gearing up still when she's met by her partners for tonight's 8 Knockouts Tag Team main event. Santina Marella tells them they're up next. And then we go back to commercial. Show returns. Frankie Kazarian and JDC are having fun mocking Leon Slater as he walks off following his refusal to accept the self-proclaimed king of TNA's offer to essentially be his errand boy. So, yeah, Kazarian asked him if he could mentor Leon Slater. Leon Slater was into it. He's like, you could start by carrying my trophy. And Leon's like, I'm not going to be your young boy. And it looks like we're going to get something there. But they're very clearly building up Leon Slater to be something this year. I think this is the year that he gets pushed. And then we get another, like, in the arena promo, the Wanted Man hits, music hits, and out comes Nemeth. He doesn't really it says he has a lot to say, but he doesn't really say anything. He's going to face Hendry at Genesis, and said Hendry was close to becoming TNA World Champion. Nemeth. So let's just skip all this shit. So he just kept talking for a while. And then all of a sudden his brother comes out. Says, "My brother Nick, it is so great to see you." They were just talking backstage. He said, I asked about putting him over Hendry. He reminds him that he's a snake, and he says that he'll hit him in the back the first chance he gets, just like Rhino hit him in the back with a steel chair. He says that they'll show everyone next week that the name Nemeth is synonymous with greatness. Nick tells Ryan not to forget that he's in this match because of him. He says he should be focusing on Genesis, but says not to worry because they'll take care of business next week, and then he walks off. All right. So yeah, lots of freaking promos on this show. See, Dre says, I was extra finished with you when Masha and Jordynne didn't get in the ring introductions for their title match because Santino wanted to sling free codes at TNA Plus. Yeah. Everybody's looking stupid indeed. How's Ortiz doing, by the way? Well, Ortiz got hurt, so he's on injury reserve right now. and then get Stone Cold to stun all them bald haters. That's right, my brother and scalp, Stone Cold Steve Austin. All right, main event time. Masha, Jordynne, and Spitfire defeat Rosemary, Tasha, and the Elegance girls. What are they calling Ash and Heather by Elegance? What are they calling them? Elegance personified or something? I don't know. I don't know what the tag team name is. But we'll just go to the end here. Threat finally makes the much needed tag. Opposition begins fighting back in a competitive form. There are a bunch of quick tags to give everyone some ring time in the closing minutes. And at one point, all 8 competitors are in the ring at the same time. Spitfire and the Elegance duo brawl at ringside, leaving the other 4 alone in the ring. Grace and Slamovich double team Steels. Steels fights off Grace, but turns around into a big kick from Slamovich. Slamovich follows up with her finisher for the pinfall victory, the snowplow, of course. They're standing in the ring, celebrating, and then Tessa Blanchard finally makes her appearance, attacks Jordynne Grace from behind. Rosemary then spits mist in Masha's face at ringside. And then Tessa literally drags her out, drags Jordynne out of the building, throws her outside, tells her, and now I'm taking my locker room back. And she pulls the garage door shut and storms through the backstage area, shoving people and yelling, get out of my way. And this is how the first TNA Impact of the year goes off the air. I thought this was a strong ending to the show. So I like how they built to the Tessa return there. I really like how they built that. It was a storyline that was being built all throughout the show, and you finally got the payoff. And now they're building so they built anticipation for it. They delivered on it at the end of the show. They had a cool angle by dragging her out of the building. And now next week, we're going to see her again, and then Jordynne's going to get her heat back. So I like the way that they did that. So while it wasn't my favorite episode, I think a lot of the promos were the Nemeth promo was not necessary. The Nemeth promo was them killing time. We didn't need that. We could have had a 4th match on the show versus the Nemeth promo, I think. Right, because they already set up the match backstage. We did not need to see it out in front of the crowd. He came out and cut not a good promo and was a waste of time. But other than that, I thought most of the promos were necessary because we're building to Genesis, or we've got to build heat for these feuds. And we came out of this show with, it looks like, 3 actual feuds with heat, which is not something that we typically have. The most heat is with Jordynne and Tessa. They're doing such a great job with this feud, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And then out of nowhere, Moose and Ace Austin talking people into the building with their feud. And Ace Austin specifically cut the promo of his life. And now he's going to be fighting Moose at Genesis for the X Division Championship. And then, of course, Josh Alexander, who is on like a losing streak. He's losing his way up the card. And he's going to be facing Mike Santana at Genesis, and Mike Santana and him, they have heat now. So it's good stuff. I thought like the show overall was fun. I just wish there was, more wrestling on it. I really do. Let's see. Lucky Charm. Nemeth promo was definitely necessary. Yeah, for sure. I says idiot internet wrestling community saying this was Jordynne's last appearance. I'm like, what? Yeah, these people don't know what they're talking about. They don't actually watch the show. What else are you gonna say? If you're not gonna say you're working with JBL, then keep it. Yeah. Decent show, says Io, and then Dre says one singular jabron to stop a former TNA world champion. Yeah. He's talking about the security guard backstage. Yeah. They probably should have made that guy a black guy. Probably, I was expecting like the internet to go crazy over that, but looks like nobody picked up on that. So, which I'm glad, because that'd be stupid. It's like we can't have a black guy play a role of getting beat up because the white chick was accused of being racist. So they should just not even acknowledge it. So I get why they did it, but I was like, maybe not put a black guy in that position to get beat up by Tessa. I mean, they didn't show it, so who knows? It could have been anybody that beat that guy up. Maybe it was JBL. Who knows? But I don't know that JBL is going to be at Genesis, by the way. I think he's going to be at the Game Changer show in the Hammerstein, by the way. That's what I think. But all right, guys, that's going to do it for me this week on Brace for Impact. Thank you guys for being here. Oh, you know what? I'm going to leave you guys with this. So, yeah, we'll be back. I'll probably be back midweek because I know that there's going to be some re-signings being announced early in the week. I know right now the number is 3, but I think it could be higher than that. So, but right now I know that specifically 3 people are going to be announced early in the week. So I do know that. Who they are, I don't know. I don't think these are going to be big signings, but still, it's going to be 3. So I'll probably be back with some type of news during the week, and then we'll be back right here next Saturday in the morning. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, let's go ahead. I've been playing with some AI stuff, so I'm going to leave you guys with my latest AI. Here is a metalcore version of Cross the Line. All right, guys.
This is my destiny. It's the truth I see. In this world I find a way to cross the line. Everybody's doing what everybody's doing. Everybody's doing the same thing. I'll be doing what I'll be doing. I'll be doing my thing. The world spins round to the right, they say. I'll be spinning the other way. Doing what I can, doing what I know. The world's my stage and I'm the show.